just now coming online in '23 for the first time. But the only other ones I can think of are like the Atlantic Park project, or the dome site projects. But those have not fully materialized yet to where anything's in place
Right.
for payment.
You do have set aside for economic development, right?
So the EDIP program, is that maybe what might?
Yeah,
So the Economic
yeah,
Development
yes.
Investment Program,
Yes.
so it's supported through a dedication of cigarette tax, which is then, yes, when an initiative is identified, it's then sent over to the Development Authority for initiatives and grants and opportunities like that, correct?
Okay, so inflation kind of is a raise on taxes because you're getting more money from the citizens, everything that cost us money, going to the grocery store or whatever, the more it costs, the more taxes we're paying, right? So with all those increases in taxes and sales and meals and, gas, et cetera, why not cut spending? Why not reduce the size of government and cut spending because you're getting so much in that and you wouldn't have to raise taxes?
It's a fair question. So, and it's something that we really do keep our mind on as we're developing the operating budget process, or developing the operating budget. So when I was first working on this presentation, I was putting my notes together. The aha really hit me that the narrative, the investment, hey, yeah, this is an initiative the city's going. This is where we're putting additional resources. This is what's new. It just kind of hit me that this budget's really just making investments to maintain. And to kind of, as I said here, to keep the lights on existing services. I mean, certainly could cut and make reductions, but there's going to be an impact to service delivery somewhere with those reductions. And it's if City Council gives us the direction to do that, it is absolutely something that we can do. Services just need to go away. If the revenue goes away, it's not there to support it.
Okay, well, right now we're short how many full-time employees? Do you know that?
So the last vacancy report I saw was citywide 870 FTEs.
Okay, so then why add 52 more to an already, undermanned, you know what I mean? If you don't have 800 people, why add 52 more to it, right? Looks like over here, the Virginia Beach Police Department is reclassifying 17 positions within their department, so they're not adding any more positions. They're just repurposing the positions that they have for things that they need to deliver those services. Why can't the rest of the departments do the same thing?
So this is the EMS, right? They don't have vacancies. They don't have those. So the number one department with vacancies is human services. So something that's kind of difficult and to pluck out of that is human services positions. It is an FTE, but it's also supported 85% by state and federal dollars. So by taking that one FTE and putting it over to another department, the state and federal dollars go away with it, but so does the salary associated with that. So it's not really a true 100% cost savings with that because it's a loss of revenue. So it's really challenging, but at the same time, it's also the city struggling with the same thing that a lot of businesses and companies are out there. Just being able to fill the positions. It doesn't mean that the positions aren't needed. No. It's a challenge.
Try filling the ones that you already have vacant instead of adding more. It's a challenge,
and it's very much something that this city is trying to do. And boy, I'm not complaining, but one of the things that still don't know how we did it, we're a department of 13 FTEs, and I have 7 of them filled right now. And so basically we were pretty close to 50% staffing this budget process. And I can tell you, if we continue to do budget processes like this, I would not have staff because of the burnout that would occur. It's just, just because they're vacant and having a hard time filling them does not mean that they are not needed.
Can I ask a question on that? Is that new, are any of those new positions that were added, or are they positions that were?
These ones are new. I mean, the 3 FTDs,
Right.
the
And
fire
then the
department,
fire,
3
and then
there,
the
2 for the for the attorney. But it's 20 EMTs that were volunteers that they now want to make city positions.
Because they can't get volunteers.
Right, so people have
So
stopped volunteering as
They need to put
much.
the incentive to, okay, well, we need to pay you to do this job, correct?
And council gives you money for 52.
Hey, everybody not
FTEs.
talk at one time.
If council gives you money for 52 FTEs and you're only able to fill half of those, what do you do with all that, with the other half of that money that council gave you?
That's at the end of the year surplus, $81 million for city, and was it 54 for the schools?
So, Virginia, so balancing the budget, and I skipped over this, we are recognizing that, so to support all of the other things I was talking about, the budget's relying on $8 million of attrition savings. So it's acknowledging that, yes, there are gonna be some of these vacancies out there, repurposing some of that to support the operating costs throughout the year. The residual, so within the general fund, I think the 5-year average in vacancy savings is typically about $30 million a year. So this $8 million is balancing next year's operating budget. The programmed amount in the 24 CIP to support such as coastal projects and some of these other projects that, you know, are in the CIP that we won't put cash towards. You don't want debt finance sand replenishment, for example, you know, I mean, it's just gonna wash away, like, you know. But, so we put PAYGO and fund balance in that. So if you look at the 24 CIP, it's programmed with $22 million of general fund balance to support that. So between that $22 million and the $8 million here, it's $30 million that we're anticipating, and that provides us that. So it's not that, it's just sitting out there accumulating, we're trying to manage those resources, but it just.
Okay, want to know about the daycare expenses. Are we paying for that, or are people that use it paying for that?
A combination of both. So there is a cost associated with if your child attends the OST initiative or program at a Parks and Rec center. There is a fee associated with that. I think it's like $200 a week. Is that what it is? Yeah, like $250 a week. So that's the fee associated with it. That's what is in the current year. That does not cover the cost associated with what they needed to pay individuals to fill the positions.
So it's supplemental.
Yes, so this general fund was a supplemental plus up to that, correct.
Okay, so how much does the city spend on charitable organizations? I believe that's under the non-departmental.
Yes. $3 million, okay, about $3 million.
Yeah, it was like $3.5 million last year. How much of the taxpayer money is being spent on homeowners' solar panels? I don't think you spend any money on them. Do you do rebates for solar panels? I think that's the federal government.
So there's a reduced tax rate.
Oh, a reduced tax rate, okay.
Associated with it, and it's energy efficient buildings, it's in the budget ordinance, and I think the tax rate for that's like 80.
It's like 88 cents, but does
88.
it cover solar panels?
I think
Is that for residential or just businesses?
it's all real estate, and so that is, and Katie asked me a good question, she said, yeah, but is that applicable to just solar panels? I'm not, I got to think about the qualification of the,
I can look if you don't ask me a question.
okay. All right, Katie's gonna look,
She's gonna research that while we go on.
yeah.
What about
Okay.
insulated siding or some insulated siding?
You think it goes under the same thing, that's what he's trying to look up. What is the homeless prevention and diversion program, what is being prevented? What is being diverted? How much does this cost?
So that was part of a slide back here. And, if I can find it, nobody gets sick, sorry. I know I'm going through this quick. Yeah. So it's probably this bullet point here. So pre-pandemic, what happened is the housing department had to scale back on services because we were cutting things. So they cut $82,000 for that service in FY20. They were able to continue that in the current year through CARES Act funding that they received. And so what the FY23 operating budget is looking to do is CARES Act funding is now gone, restore that $82,000. And so what that's going to do is provide outreach initiatives, identification, resources towards getting the individuals who are identified as homeless, some additional incentives to try to get them, in whatever the condition is, mental health initiatives, whatever it is, what their identified needs are, and get them some additional assistance.
Okay, well, these two questions, I believe, have to do with schools. I mean, there's, you don't do any equity training in the city, right? Just, you do? Do you do equity training?
So we have training initiatives that are coordinated by HR and, in the Chatellier system. In terms of the equity training, I'm not familiar with it being a mandatory, or is it part as new employee orientation? Okay.
Okay, so they want to know how much is that, how much does the literature cost? How much you were spending on it, do you know?
I'm not.
Okay. How is the 45 million, can you find out? Okay. How is the 45 million for resort site acquisition in the CIP keeping the city running?
So the $45 million that's being funded by the TIP for the site acquisition. City council, all right, I think of one example recently off the top of my head. So it was identified that city council wanted to purchase a parcel of land at the corner of Birdneck and 17th Street for a future BMP initiative.
BMP is?
BMP, best management practices related to stormwater, flood, correct. Yes, water retention pond. And so the opportunity came up for city council. This individual don't want to do eminent domain stuff, so it became available. City council wanted to act and move on it. But there was no appropriation in place for city council to secure that and to make that site acquisition property. So it was the exercise of going through, getting the appropriations, finding the fund to put it in place. So city council, several made the comment at that point in time, well, we really need flexibility. When the market presents itself and there's an opportunity to do something like this that we otherwise wouldn't have, city council needs the ability to act. So that site acquisition project would in fact do that, provide flexibility for city council at a future point in time to make a site acquisition project should they so choose.
Ah, so that wouldn't be covered under all the contingency money? Or how about the total unassigned fund balance, 123 million, it's on page 64.
And so it's 9.15%, I think, of the fund balance. So city council has a fund balance policy, and it, stood at the test of time. The city's AAA bond rated. City council has a fund balance policy to maintain adequate cash, unassigned fund balance, equivalent to 8 to 12% of the following year's revenues. So
They couldn't use that?
So for the one-time use, so I think a hit of, what's 5 million on that? 0.5%? Or so 5 million hit is 0.5% on that. So it's only about $10 million till it's inching down to the area that would be below that threshold. So they certainly could, if city council would like to do that. But there's just things like that that are being monitored by the rating agencies that everybody's just trying to be mindful of and work with our financial consultants.
Okay. Have you seen and evaluated Councilman Moss's alternative budget? If so, Will it work? Why or why not?
So, yes, I have seen it. So there are risks associated with it. And it's certainly, you know, if city council wants to take the risk associated with it, they certainly could. The risk is that it's redirecting about $34 million or $45 million of reversion funding that was provided to schools in January, which is one-time funding, and it's taking it back out of CIP. I don't believe that can actually technically be touched until July 1. And as a result of that, if in between now and then schools were to obligate through contracts and move, and that funding wasn't there, there could be some holes in that. And being that it's one-time funds, it could just create some challenges, but I certainly don't want to.
Okay, who determined that the cigarette tax to go to special projects? Wouldn't it make more sense for it to go to health needs for the homeless, or English as a second language?
So that was done, I believe the cigarette tax that was dedicated towards those initiatives was done back in the early to mid 90s, if not the early 2000s. So it was done a long time ago, and it's just been the dedication within, like I said, the major projects, the TGIF that were combined to create the TIP.
Okay. Well, if anybody has any more questions, can they email you? Call you on the
Sure.
phone? Should they just ask city council? No, because I'm sure you can.
And we get them, so yeah, you can email them. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm old school enough and can actually give out a business card.
Woo!
It does, look at that. It's beat up and looks like it's been run through a washing machine, but.
Yes, Bill?
All right, this one, I didn't write it down because it's like in 3 parts.
Oh, come on, read
No, they're
it.
very, very simple. The hotel room tax is $2 per night per room, I think.
Correct.
All right, and that same tax, thank you, that same tax applies to home sharing, like Airbnb, $2 per night per room. And that's got to be growing because more and more people are doing Airbnb. I'm one of them. So where does that money go?
So it goes to that line item. So the amount represented here in the hotel tax, so in total citywide, $15.1 million is what's generated citywide. So it's rolled up into that. So it's not that hotels revenues collected in an account and then Airbnb and short terms are collected in another account. It all goes in to the hotel tax revenue account. And so, but we do actually track separately the dollar per room night. That does go into its own account. And I think so the $1 per room night citywide generates about $2.5 million citywide. So the two combines about $5 million.
And this goes into the general revenue.
So,
Or, I mean, the general expenses of the city.
No, I just gave you that, the dedication of revenue.
yeah. Hotel tax is really a bowl of spaghetti noodles.
Okay, it's a quarter after, so we need to get the end of the meal, we have to go to the end of the hotel.
Do you have a slide that shows how the tip and the tap is funded,
Yes.
their revenues? Just because there was so much question over that?
So let me see if, let me see if I don't have access to the internet. So in the executive summary, there's a, Virginia, I can show you. So in the executive summary, there's a revenue dedication table.
Okay.
Yeah, I just gave him that page.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so, I don't know, everybody's page 66.
Yeah.
And so
If you go to this city summary, on that page, it'll tell you where all of it goes.
Oh, okay. Hold it up this year yet.
Yes. There's a huge increase for tourism from all those taxes. So just like we used to declare the surplus from Sandbridge, a surplus that tax, I think we should dedicate that surplus that TIP is getting for tax relief. That would be up to city council.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, if there was a surplus in any given year, they could certainly give that direction, and because you're right, something that used to happen within the Sandbridge TIP each year was if it didn't cover beach replenishment, it would be declared a surplus, and then it would be split city and schools to go back and support the CIP. Typically, because it'd be fund balance.
Okay, so the city council is having their public hearing at the convention center on the 20th
Correct.
at 6 p.m.
Correct.
And then on the 26th, they are having the public hearing on the 11.1 cent tax increase, and that's at City Hall at 6 p.m. Everybody be there.
The old city hall.
The old city hall.
The old City Hall, not the new
Not the
City
new.
Hall.
Because, yeah, we later found that out, that, you know, whenever we had put the public hearing ad out there, we had said the address, and then lo and behold, like a week later, they changed the address on us. I was like,
Changed on Friday.
it changed on Friday. I was like, okay.
All right.
So, yeah, the old
But
city
Google
hall.
doesn't know that yet. Fun fact. Oh, but the answer to the real estate question about
Good.
energy efficiency
Mhm.
is it only applies if your residence or whatever exceeds the Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code by 30%, so probably not.
Probably not solar.
Probably not.
Yeah, I just don't know enough about the building code, I'm not a
Who would they ask?
planning.
Planning. Call planning
But
about that.
I could look into it and get back to you.
Okay, well, it was somebody else that asked that question. Anyway, thank you so much. Let's have a round of applause.